Gaming4hope has the makings of a great lolcow. He looks like a giant baby or a bulldog. He doesn't learn from his mistakes, mouth moves but nothing actually registers into his brain. Keeps narrating his gameplay but doesn't actually retain anything he spouts. He's horrible at games. He has been coached by numerous pros and still never got better. He's been stuck in plant to low diamond for 3 fucking years. Doesn't take any accountability, meaning he'll never improve. It should be obvious, but I'll say it anyways. He lacks any self-awareness, and he will highlight everything negative said about him, no matter how irrelevant. It must be brought up and talked about on stream. I mean, the guy actually brought up the allegations of him neglecting his kids, grooming his wife, and even being a member of the KKK. Even though most of those are just memes, or a handful of people spreading false allegations to nobody. The guy is so PR trained, all of his responses are mostly measured, but he's a fucking idiot. He's so hell-bent on keeping the Chungus persona that he's bringing light to sensitive topics, and of course it bites him in the ass. And now he's getting trolled harder, because the people who hate him know he'll always respond. Then we have the standard lolcow behavior, banning chatters like it's his second job, or asking his Jannies to do so. The tiniest critique of his character or his gameplay will get you timed out or potentially banned from the chat. Also, there are moments where he's holding the stream hostage, begging for money, and of course he's only watchable through clippers. His actual streams are boring. Now that we're done shitting on Gaming4hope, it's time to defend him, because despite him being the worst platinum player, the recent hate he's gotten is undeserved. Entire Discord servers created to snipe his games. It would be funny, but because they're leftist and they have no balls, it's basically zero content, no voice comms, no ridicule. It's just some fat who spends 8 hours a day to snipe him on Overwatch with nothing clever to say, essentially artificially lowering his rank. I wanted to see him fail on his own. It's so funny to me that he actually thought he'd make it as a pro by just playing the game for a couple hours a day. It's very clear that the guy doesn't have the genetics to be a pro, and the amount of self-help books he's been reading without internalizing any of it is pretty sad. You shouldn't hate him for his political opinions, but because of his character and his gameplay. It's not even hate, it's just very entertaining to watch him fail at Overwatch and cope over it. I mean, just look at this face. How could you hate this man? Just look at him. It seems to me they desperately want him to be a closeted Nazi. They hate him for the tiniest reasons, even though he's just an average guy. I understand watching him crash and burn is a fun pastime hobby, but your reasons for it are lame. That being said, let's take a look at the crimes Gaming4hope has committed that justifies the doxing, constant stream sniping, going after his money, and the numerous queer people on Reddit and YouTube bitching about him and over-analyzing him like they have a degree on psychology. A lot of trannies view Gaming4hope as the next coming of Hitler. Let's take a look at what awful things he has done. He briefly considered supporting an organization called the Trevor Project. This organization does suicide prevention for the LGBTQ, then chose to back out because of religious reasons, because Gaming4hope is a Christian. But here's the thing, it's his fucking money, he's not obligated to give his money to you. Gaming4hope could donate 10% of his monthly earnings to Aryan nations if he so pleases. If you don't like it, donate your unemployment checks to Trevor Project, support your cause instead of bitching about it. Though, I don't think any amount of money will fix that issue. Oh, this is a big one. He was sad over the death of Charlie Kirk. You know, big Yahoo, he lost a fucking good one that day. Absolutely inexcusable behavior to mourn the death of a family man with a gummiest smile and a heart that belonged to Israel. May you rest in peace, Kirkinator. And the biggest one yet, he announced that he was going to donate 10% of his April's revenue towards Celebrate Recovery. He has a habit of donating money to various charities, so the controversy behind Celebrate Recovery is that they view transgenderism and homosexuality as a mental illness. They basically just do group therapy sessions and focus on substance abuse. Conversion therapy, the AA meeting for the gays, is like a side thing. And when Gaming4hope heard about this, he chose not to donate. And he donated his money to Trevor Project instead. Okay, we know about the controversies, but what does Gaming4hope actually think about the LGBTQ? But I warn you, this next part might be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
But I want you to know that I do not hate or even slightly dislike the LGBT community, and nor does God. First thing that I want to drive home to the LGBT community is that God loves you in spite of you.
Let's talk about the LGBTQIA+ community, because I do want to say before I say anything else, I have nothing but kindness and love in my heart for you. Yes, I have my own personal beliefs as a Christian, but those beliefs are anchored by the idea that you are to love your neighbor as yourself. And I know that while the Bible calls many of the LGBTQIA+ community identifications sin, that does not mean that I am without fault. I make mistakes constantly. And the Bible has no hierarchy to sin. There is no the LGBT is the worst, although some Christians would have you believe that. There's just no factual basis for that. my lying on occasion, little white lie, even just a little, you steal a paperclip from your office, that's still as bad in God's mind, according to the Bible, as anything else that's listed as sin in the Bible. It's all the same to him. At my core, you will never, ever, 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 ever be able to find a place where I am disrespectful towards someone because of their gender identity, sexual orientation, or the like. I can promise you that.
Aw, isn't that sweet? Well, is this enough for the gays and the true? Of course it isn't. Gaming4hope is an average guy. He just wants to get along with everyone because it's easier. Even if he doesn't believe in your cause, he still respects you enough to play along with your fantasies and make-believe. But this isn't enough. No. Only total and full support will suffice for these people. They are entitled to your attention, they seem very needy, and they crave for you to validate their delusions. And believe it or not, these people hold a lot of social power. Just like women, they are untouchable, and if you try anything, it's just seen as punching down. And they are full aware of their social power and abuse it fairly frequently. But what makes these people so needy and neurotic? What makes them unstable? And to answer the question why these are so unstable, we have to first know the effects of estrogen on the biological male's body. We'll begin with the physical effects. First physical effect, breast growth often reaches up to Tanner stage 2 or 3. Tanner stage meaning breast development. Tanner 1 means normal male chest. Tanner 2 means small noticeable growth, often tender butts. Tanner 3 is the max stage, visible breast but conical shape. Essentially PS1 style polygon breast, just like Tomb Raider. Then we have muscle loss, significant drop in muscle mass and strength. Genitals, testicular atrophy, shrinkage, reduced or zero sperm production, infertility, often permanent if long-term, weaker/fewer erections, lower semen volume, penis function declines, meaning erectile dysfunction, decreased libido, no change in vocal department, and even though vigorous voice training and forcing, you'll end up just sounding gay. It also puts immense strain in your throat, giving you fatigue or even long-term irritation, essentially nature's way of telling you to stop. Now you see how these unnatural developments can already fuck with your psyche. All of this being permanent and all, it only gets worse from here. Okay, up next, you're risking blood clots, strokes, heart issues, cardiovascular metabolic shifts, risking diabetes, your bones shrink and become weaker, rope burns, breast cancer, the works. Now for the mental/psychological effects. Let's see how chemically castrating yourself changes you. You become more sensitive, fragile, reactive. You cry easier, you get mood swings going more down than up. The libido drop can feel like loss of motivation. You become prone to depression and anxiety, and it can potentially even worsen your already existing mental conditions, excessive fatigue, and emotional instability. Higher estrogen in younger men correlates with depressive symptoms. And this perfectly explains why these people have such a thin skin, why it feels like you need to walk on eggshells when they are around, why you have to baby them and validate their every feeling. This also explains their irrational obsession with creators they don't like. They cannot stand the fact that there is a person who doesn't accept them, or more importantly, worship them, and these people don't play fair. They always go for the jugular, your money, your status. For example, the recent drama with Gaming4hope and Wallhacks, dropping him because he donated money to a charity that helps addicts, but also believes in conversion therapy. Truths don't believe in the greater good. It either revolves around them or not. Then there's also that situation with TLC Cooper and his transphobic comments in-game. Of course, this goblin immediately seized the opportunity to deplatform someone and began recording. It is good to note that the TTV goblin himself started this argument. It is insane that in our modern climate, offhand comments online are perceived so severely that you're forced on your knees to write a fucking apology to not lose your money or your status. In conclusion, Gaming4hope loves gays and the whole LGBTQ. Gaming4hope wants to be an ally, but as it turns out, self-mutilation is weird and gay. I'm not even going to talk about the surgeries because most don't have the balls to go through that. Imagine half-assing your identity. You feel like a woman, but you choose to still keep your meat. Which, how the fuck does that even work? You just slap on a dress and your mom's bra and panties, and voila, Jack turns to Jackie. Just like that. And it's like they have a habit of not finishing things like how many actually die from old age. Yet they blame the online bigotry. I promise you this, if we lace their estrogen, with testosterone, they'd feel way better and consequently would stop bitching and seeking validation online. You know, the funniest part is that for some reason it's the tallest, the most masculine, and jacked dude imaginable thinking they can switch sides. Also, play Rivals. It's a way better game now after Blizzard butchered their game, uglified their characters, and added wall queues, 5v5s, and pandered towards a certain crowd. And it's all because some Blizzard employee drank his co-worker's breast milk. No, I'm not kidding. They're trying so hard to keep their image. Cassidy will always be McCree for me. Daddy Kwang Wang would never suspend you over swearing or calling somebody bad at the game. In Kwang Wang we trust. China is the future. Thank you for watching. More to come, mayhaps. I don't know.